What's going on? This is My Life in the Shop. I'm your host, Donald Washington. Now, it's 2017. We got Republicans in office. Donald Trump is the president. And they're going to come after the poor. The poor is going to always be hurt and affected the worst when Republicans are in office. Why someone poor will vote Republican is absolutely beyond me. Why would you vote against your absolute best interest? Is bananas. Make sure you guys, and Paul Ryan, he's going to, man, look here. We gave y'all 2017, just prepare. They're going to hit you 2018 and 2019. We got 3 more years of Republicans, and they're going to make sure they leave their mark against the poor. That's exactly what they're going to do. Some of the things they're cutting is Pell Grants. That's sending kids to college. It's going to be a lot harder to go to college now. Our Medicaid for our elderly, you know, Prevacid was $20, $40 once upon a time, and Medicaid picked some of that up. So now Prevacid is like $300. Some of these medical, they're charging banana prices, just ridiculous. And so you got to pay attention to, you know, our elderly people that's retired. They're going to be hit very hard. Especially, of course, you already know this was coming. Welfare, food stamps, of course, they're going to hit that hard. They're going to also hit the Child Care Act, you know, the taxes that you get back. So what they're going to try to do is just try to reward married couples versus single family household. Now, some of this to me would be better, would be okay for the black community. We will strive together. We would overcome this. And there was some people that was calling in to another show, and they said they survived Reagan, they survived Bush, they survived this, and of course, we will strive. I'm going to bring y'all Tone Talks, his show on what they were talking about right now.
Back to that first point, which is, will tax reform upend the black family structure? You know, these changes structurally, I did a video with Yvette Carnell. You can go check that out on my channel. And what I laid out is these changes will hit so many so hard, but one of the things that it seems jumps out is a rewarding of marriage in a way we haven't seen in our lifetime, and a punishment for being alone.
Yes,
especially alone with multiple children, and it's not going to slow down. So in literally over a course of a year, you can go from a large $8,000 refund and all of your kids being in different kinds of programs, Head Start, Pell Grants, to literally a smaller refund that's not $8,000, it's more like $3,000, and you gotta pay. You need to pay for the Pell Grant. You need to pay for the Head Start, because they cut Head Start by $200,000. I'm gonna list that later on. And so what is this single mother, what does this single father do? Well, we gonna have to get together, and we gonna have to figure this thing out. What do you think, Ted?
He's right. We're gonna have to get together. One of the things I talk about the most on my channel is the single household, man. And that welfare destroyed the black community. I did a documentary. I did every research that you could possibly do. And I agree that I think that welfare destroyed the black family. And that, not that I hate this bill, man. This bill is really bad for us, man. It's hitting every poor black person at every angle that we could possibly imagine. However, we're going to have to get together, man. And honestly, man, we're not going to be able to afford to be able to have kids over kids, 4 different baby daddies. And one thing that I'm disappointed in the black community is that a lot of sisters are going out there sleeping with men that ain't worth a damn. I talk to beautiful women. They were like, yeah, Donald, you know, he didn't have a crib, he didn't have a car, career, he was in and out of jail, never had a job, couldn't take care of his other kids. I'm like, beautiful women. And they sleeping with fucking trash. And I always say the reason why, once you have a kid by a piece of dirt, you can just go out and get welfare, food stamps, free childcare, free medical, free dental, free everything you need. And the government paid for that. Then she didn't have to work, so she just sat at home, sleep, drink, and have sex with more different deadbeat dads instead of good fathers. And those children make up our statistics. The gang members, drug dealers, the killers, the prison systems, all the negative statistics. So I'm going to bring y'all the rest of the show.
Well, so that's essentially what I think long-term is going to happen. Right away, it's going to be devastating. I already have like coaching my brother and my friends in regards to, and my friend has 3 kids, 3 babies' daddies. And before, she would, instead of, doing the trade of the kids, she would keep all three, because why not? She gets the bigger settlement. She has the kids, she takes a lump sum. But now there is no benefit to claiming all three of those kids. So I was like, you may as well just share them. Let each one of y'all claim each kid, because you're all going to get the same deduction. I said share them until you can figure out something else. There's going to be...
Said 3 kids by 3 different baby daddies, and that's the normal in the black community. And then it's normal in the black community that all 3 are deadbeats.
No benefit in having multiple.
I could see making one mistake. I could see laying with a cat with no job, no crib, no car, career. He was 6'5", so you liked him, whatever, ladies, but no job.
Kids, like I just had a cousin that went from 3 kids, had triplets, to 6. Burn. Because you're not getting a deduction for all those 6 kids. You're going to feel it. And a lot of these people do rollover expenses. A lot of these people like max out credit cards and count on that refund to pay it off at the end of the year. That's like their savings account is counting on that tax refund every year. This year, you in the red.
Yeah.
All these families that count on tax refunds for these kids are in the red.
See.
So, you know what? I need to find out. Make sure you guys look this up, too. You can easily Google the tax reform bill, but find out what it means for you and your situation, because what's going to happen is that is this kicking in the first in 2018?
What he's talking about is let's look at a black single mother of 3 kids, hardworking, $50,000 a year. She's been on a good job at the post office or somewhere. This isn't somebody who just wants to collect.
Right.
But the whole system allowed her to deduct like $25,000 off of that gross of 50. Well, all of a sudden she can't deduct 25. She deducts 18.
Right.
18. There's 12 and then there's 18. 18 is what you get with 1 kid, and then it just stays 18. In addition, a lot of people don't understand there's a whole nother kind of hidden economy in the hood.
Yes.
Hey, big mama. You want to take Shaquise and add her to your taxes? I'll do Jerron and Jerome. Right. And I think for a lot of us, we not being honest about what that's going to be like in terms of restructuring the black family. Now, I want everybody to join in to this discussion. 323-879-4445. This isn't the sexiest discussion. I understand. Don't feel you're going to get berated. I want you to call in with your honest testimonials as you see it. Any questions that I might be able to answer. Now, undergirds us looking quasi-stable. So essentially, including $25 billion in cuts in the first year. Are you able to deal with your grandmama coming to you and saying, I can't get that liver done, I need $2,000?
Not even the liver. I mean, if you truly knew the cost of prescription drugs that elderly people are on, you're going to start feeling it, because they're going to start asking you. They're going to need, you to subsidize basic prescriptions like their blood pressure and cholesterol, because a lot of those prescriptions are $300 a pop. But before, their Medicare was covering it, and it's not going to cover it anymore.
And just ignoring their phone calls ain't going to get it neither.
No.
They over there, they can't get their pills, and you don't want to answer the phone because grandma is going to ask you for $1,000. Now, understand the middle black families were $4,000 with everything. So I don't know how there was an expectation for you to have $1,000, but that means that we got to have a discussion we ain't had in a long time about wealth, about income.
Well, yeah, and that's a discussion we must have, wealth and income. Now, what we're going to have to do, we'll get through this, but we're going to have to come together as a family. A lot of people who live alone are going to have to come back home, take care of their parents, combine our income, start buying our houses and stop renting. Buying is a lot cheaper anyway. We're going to have to help out our parents, our sisters, our brothers, and come together as a community.
Which is, you know what I'm saying?
And already, senior citizens are already, like my grandma talks about it, it's called the gap or the donut. There's a large amount that Medicare isn't already covering because of previous tax reforms. And so it's just going to increase. You're going to start hearing a lot of old people talk about a lot of stuff in regards to their health care. And it's not going to be pretty.
Look here, man. I want everybody, I noticed that everybody's kind of nervous about calling in. Feel comfortable calling in and giving yours. When me and Yvette did it, I pulled up tax forms to show you guys. And I feel like what we're going to have to start doing is being real about this. We got another caller before I finish. Additional 1.5 trillion in deficit. Caller, just give me your point. I know it's going to be fire.
Nickname. So we're just talking Section 8, y'all.
Yeah.
Like the waiting list is already crazy. Like I've known people to sit on Section 8 like waiting lists for up to 7 years, y'all. So that's when we talk about affordable housing, we mean that.
Section 8. We mean where you living right now listening to us. Look, cut job training by 40%. I'm almost finished here, caller. I'm going to come right to you. Exacerbate the wealth disparity between white and non-white Americans. Create an additional 1.5 trillion in deficit. Caller, just give me your point. I know it's going to be fire.
It's bringing tears to my eyes, Tone and Tiffany. It's bringing tears to my eyes because I know people who are dependent on these programs. Even though I receive food stamps, but the minute I graduate from my master's program, get a better paying job, hopefully, they're going to take that away. But I still have cousins, aunts, and uncles that need the help. I'm afraid that we don't know what's coming our way. I think it's devastation, Tiffany, as a shooting, Tiffany, right?
Yes.
I think that's an understatement.
Right.
I think people are gonna go crazy. People are gonna lose their minds.
This is an entire restructuring of the reality, not just of black life, but of poor life.
American poor life.
But the difference, though, is black families. Almost all are working poor or poor. Yes. The data, when I showed the data, people just sometimes they deer in headlights. The bottom 80% of black folks are living on nearly nothing, and the bottom 50% altogether are worth negative money.
Right.
You know why I'm sorry, Antonio. You know why we're like deer in headlights? Because we don't know how to read the numbers. I learned that for myself. I learned that we don't know data. Your show and the Dick Cardinal and I'm from Pong have been opening up my eyes. I'm realizing these programs have undergirded our life.
Yes.
So when they go away or they start to drastically decrease, we're going to really feel like what it's like to have nothing. And that's going to be a huge, devastating wake-up call. And we're going to have an increase in mental illness in our community. As far as the public education, they're taking that away. I honestly believe there's not going to be any more public education.
I have to agree. We already seen it. Virtual education.
It's over with.
Yeah.
Have you heard of virtual education?
Yeah, you know what, man? A lot of Chicago public school systems are closing, man. Let me tell you something. We're going to have to do for ourselves. We're going to teach our own children. We're going to create our own jobs by shopping within the businesses in our own community. They're going to force us to do that. And I'm glad about that, is that we spend 98% of our money in white-owned businesses in Orland Park and all these other businesses, and then then our children are out of work, out of jobs.
I heard that devil's person.
No, but virtual education is something they already piloted.
Yes.
Where essentially they give you your little books
in rural areas,
and you just do it online. Go to after rural areas.
I heard of it.
I heard of it. Yeah.
They're getting rid of it. And I told my family this before, like, they're getting rid of public education.
Right.
They're going to have a different way of doing it. People don't believe me. And I want to thank you. I want to thank Yvette. I want to thank everyone else because you guys have really opened up my eyes to what's going on around us. And I think it's because we've been undergirded by these programs so long. We think we don't need marriage. Now, marriage isn't for everybody, but it can help.
See, like what I see it as is a stepping stone into community. You know, in so many instances, we've been living as
And so, you know what, man? Marriage nowadays, man, it is so expensive. We're talking 70% of the black community is getting divorced. We had a 50%, like 52% nationwide. However, in the black community, it's 70% divorce. And it is so expensive. And they're going to talk about that.
Little hobbits coming out of our little hobbit house, grabbing what we need. What Zoe called a bad relationship is when you go in like a convenience store and just, I want 2 cakes, 2 bananas. That's not a relationship. That's not it.
No, it's not.
It's supposed to be a hospital for the soul.
I think when it wears off,
Well, the school I used to work for, that's about to shut down. I know that's one of the first programs that's going to go. We're not going to be able to bus in about 40% of the kids that come to our school anymore.
You start looking at this thing, and we're going to go to a commercial break right now. And I just want to say, go to Dash Radio, press the Dash Talk button. I just need to take a breath on this, and we going to come. Well, actually, let me go to this caller that's on here before we go to the break. Caller, what is your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Vaughn from Detroit.
What up, Vaughn?
Yeah, how's it going, brother?
Oh, I'm good. Tell me about how Detroit is handling this.
Oh, Detroit's gonna handle it like it always handle it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to feed on itself. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember. Let's see, President Reagan. I remember life before Reagan. I remember life after Reagan. After Reagan, the rule of law broke down. Detroit fed on itself with crack, and it destroyed half the city. When he was president, there was like 1.2 million people in the city. Now we're down to 600,000. I'm saying all that because Detroit is 86% black. Mm-hmm. That's it. And when the government, when the white majority government turned on the city of Detroit when it was no longer white, they started nitpicking, changing laws to make things difficult, take away services from the city, take away money from the city. What did people do? They fed on each other. They sold each other crack. They tricked out their neighbor's daughter, and they broke each other's houses. And they found a hustle to get around certain systems. You know, if they couldn't get on a medical service, they'll use their friend's medical card, whose boyfriend or husband worked at one of the plants. They would go in the hospital and use their card. If they couldn't get aid, they would lie about some farm to get aid. Mm-hmm. They always came up with a hustle. So my point is, saying all that, wherever it's going to come about, black folks might find a way to hustle. Now, here's the downside to that hustle, though. What to make that hustle means they're going to violate some law. And when they get caught, they go to jail.
It's a web being created, you know.
Yes, sir. And he's absolutely right. If we're not smart, if we don't prepare, if we don't come together, our young brothers and sisters are going to try to come up with the hustle. That's more selling drugs. That's more drug addicts. That's more of us going to prison. That's more free slave labor for them. That's why they're putting so much money into privatized prisons. It's coming. And Republicans are bringing it.
You know, last week I understand his role in the system, but we got to expose him to get the roll out. And that's Freeway Rick Ross and the reality of Reaganomics and trickle down. But a lot of it is a web, right? So we got too many people here driving Uber. Some of them, we got to make them get them off the street. And I think even when you look at Detroit, I watched a great video on Yvette Carnell's channel, supportbreakingbrown.com. And it showed how they got people out of their houses. It was sad. Basically, you know, they didn't tell people about a program where you didn't have to pay your taxes if you were low income. They overvalued the houses so the taxes were too high. They stole these people's houses in Detroit. And I think that we got to be honest too. This is my side. I'll take your point about feeding on each other, but we also are being fed on by a larger system of capital. Mm-hmm. And we can't get mad at each other. We got to be honest with each other, and we got to move forward. Caller, I'm going to go to a commercial break right now and come right back. Thank you so much for calling in and giving your opinion.
And no problem.
What up, y'all? We about to come back to a caller, but again, this is Antonio Moore with Tone Talks. Got a guest in the building. She just been killing it today. Tiff, she's usually on the Zoe What Show. She came in and supported me today. 323-879-4445. You can catch this on the Dash Radio app. Press Dash Talk, or you can go to the Tone Talks YouTube channel. So let's bring that caller in. Caller, what is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Yeah, what is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Doug in Atlanta. How you doing?
Doug, what is up? How you doing today? ATL.
A little cold. We got a little snow down here.
Yeah, my auntie down there. I heard about that. My auntie down there. I got a lot of family down there. So tell me about what's going on and how you feel about this tax reform.
Well, I'm a long time listener to you. Yvette over at Breaking Brown, IRMA. So one thing, I think you mentioned it before, but I think it bears worth mentioning again. When we look at all these programs that are being cut, particularly if we come back to the Head Start programs, not only do you have where the children aren't able to utilize those programs, but what happens to all those jobs that the programs generated?
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole web, right?
Nonprofits themselves. Yes, the transportation systems, the drivers they need to bus the folks over. Heck, even the extra public transportation in the area where the people live. So they may have come over, but then they, move around the community, shop and stuff while they're there. All that business is going away from those stores.
And Doug, think about this. How you supposed to work if you a kid that can't go to the Head Start?
Right. A lot of people use that as free daycare.
Yeah, and then the last part, which is the most important, which gets lost, is it's supposed to be a Head Start. It's supposed to catch you up with what white folks is doing already. So now you're going to have a generation of black kids that didn't get the Head Start they needed to be competitive in an ultra-competitive America.
Right. Again, Head Start, it really was, like you said, to catch them up. So we already know our black kids are starting behind. So you're starting them behind.
I think that now that, what, we will overcome this. We need to do for ourselves. Teach our children beforehand. Stop. We've gotten so dependent on the government to where now we're like panicking. And like you said, a deer in the headlight. We don't need them. We can teach our own children. We can create our own schools. We do not need the government.
Because Head Start, for some people, starts as early as 3, the early pre-K programs. So your kid is not getting pre-education from 3 to K anymore. You're just starting at K.
So what we got to do, Doug, let me say this. Doug, Tiff, what we got to do is everybody got to go on Google and start looking at what Head Start is teaching these kids. And you're going to have to do this at home on the weekends. Ain't no Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Well, let me tell you one thing you can't teach your kid that Head Start teaches, which as someone who was a former, I was an elementary and high school social worker, a good portion of Head Start is about social norming your child. No, just teaching them how to be in school. This is where our black kids get labeled with things like ADHD and emotional behavior disorders and get shoved in special education because they just don't know how to even act in class.
You know what? And don't let them put your child on ADHD medicine. That is a trap to destroy them. They're teaching in college right now that if a child keeps messing up, put them on medicine, put them on drugs, and destroy them. Put them in special education. Don't let them do that to your child.
A lot of pre-K is how to walk on a straight line, hold your hands behind your back, say yes, ask questions. It's social norming how to be in school.
Tiff, but we got to get in the day. This is the thing. Doug, you still there with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
What we got to do is we might have to get 3 or 4 families together.
Oh, not might. You're going to have to.
This is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to answer the bell and stop telling everybody this is Thursday and I do NFL on Thursday.
Yes, and he's right. I asked Africans. I work with 2 Africans. I interviewed an African for my documentary. I asked them, what do y'all do without welfare, without these programs? And all of the Africans, they tell me, look, you have to do it yourself. You're going to have to teach your kids. You have to educate your kids. You have to feed your kids. All these things, we're going to have to come together now.
Mama and daddy going to have to get a couple kids down the street and a couple more kids on the next street and we're going to have to get in line together at 3 and 4. And we're going to have to start teaching. What you think, Doug? Is there a solution here?
Well, I think what you're hinting at is some different coping mechanisms that people can do, because as Yvette always says, there's no individual solution to this. The collective solution is politics.
And see, they didn't have Head Start 20 years ago. I don't think it's mandatory.
But individually, those things they're suggesting, they can help kind of cushion the fall, but they don't really meet the needs of the community the way it's really needed. So you run into this conundrum where people may want to do those things, but may literally not have the resources for it. But then nobody wants to do politics either. So it's like, well, then what do you want to do? It's one or the other.
Doug, I got a couple other people on the line. I appreciate you calling in. What I want to do before I set this up to go to the next caller is I want to talk to Tiff for a second.
Okay.
Tiff, we here with you. She had a rough day today, or
I didn't. It was a great day.
Okay, it was a great day. She just actually finalized her divorce today.
Right.
And this is part of the reason I brought her in, is to get a personal testimonial. Black millennial, went through the rough patch. Right now, 70% divorce rate for young black marriages. And I just have to wonder, under the financial strains, will that go to 90? Will that rise to a point where marriage just ain't for us? Already you're seeing it dip for millennials across the board, where millennials just don't get married like their prior generation. We don't feel stable enough. We want to stay single. So, what is your view after going through one?
Well, I would say this actually. With the new tax reform laws and the plate that's about to hit the black community is legitimately black folks won't be able to afford to divorce at all. It's actually much cheaper. It's like $35 for a marriage license. It's very cheap to get married on paper. You don't need a wedding to get married. People are very confused about that. So black folks might have to throw the idea of a wedding out of the little fantasy we have and just realize marriage is this paper and whatever we say it is. So we all have aunts and uncles that have been shacked up for a long time, like 15, 20 years. We all have somebody. They might just need to go on and get married because tax-wise, it might benefit them. But on the flip side, divorce is highly expensive, even if you're poor. Just to file, and you both have to file. So this is what happened with me. It's $435 just to file for divorce. Because what people don't realize is a divorce is actually basically a civil lawsuit. You're suing your way out of marriage, essentially, is what happens.
Pause for a second, Tiff.
And that's why nobody's getting married. I'm telling you, they nickel and dime you to death to do anything. They've created the family court system, $1 billion industry, and they destroy you financially.
You're going to have people out there saying
confused.
$435 ain't that much.
Per person.
And understand that the middle black family in this country is worth $4,000 hard. The middle black family in LA is worth $200 liquid. The middle black family in Boston is worth $8 liquid.
Right.
Y'all might have to stick it out.
There's no payment plan for divorce. You got it or you don't.
And then you still got to deal with debts and all.
Well, and that's just the original filing. Any other extra judgments, child support, mediation, all of that costs anywhere between $135, $335. It adds up.
Tiff, it sounds like you saying marriage ain't for us.
No, I'm saying divorce ain't for us. Y'all should just stay together.
Oh, so you got to pick better.
You pick better or just stick it out, y'all.
It sounds
that's gonna be your option if you're black.
It sounds like what we come into this tax.
And absolutely, I feel this is one of the parts to where I agree far as with the decision making that welfare allows in the black community. It allows horrific decision making because they know that welfare is just going to pay for everything. So a lot of women, instead of a good man, they're more worried about a good penis versus a good man. And so now they don't care if you got no crib, no car, no career. You could get the coochie all you want. You don't care if you're sleeping with 35 other women. They're still sleeping with you. And so once the baby come out, they don't care he run off. They just go get welfare. Now, what I ask the Africans and the people from other countries is, what do y'all do? And they say, hey, we can't afford to go out there and sleep with him, and him. Then a lot of people going to say, oh, that's culture. But then you ask somebody 75 plus before welfare, what did they do? They couldn't afford to go out there and sleep with 3-4 different deadbeat dads and have children with 3 or 4 different men that don't give a shit about the kid, run off, don't have the job, career means to even take care of the child.
Reform right here, whether it be who you have a child with or who you decide to marry.
Right.
You better pick right,
Wisely.
because you in murk if you don't.
Yes.
And the thing is, what I want to do is keep on going with the questions. I mean, Tiff, I
Divorce is
appreciate you.
expensive. I'm just letting y'all know.
I appreciate you talking about that, because I'm seeing a lot of young black millennials actually calling in, talking about divorce. What I want to do is go to another caller and keep these calls going, because I love the discussion. Caller, what is your name? Where are you calling from? Let's go to the other caller. Caller, what is your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Tart, and I'm in Springfield, Massachusetts, by way of Detroit.
What up, T? Come on, bring this
What up,
discussion. I always appreciate, us having this discussion. I want to give this platform. They killing black media. We don't have places to talk about all this. So give it to me, T.
Well, I just wanted to add the point, okay, so right now you see that we have our new black princess, supposedly.
Oh, T,
Yeah,
T, don't get me
Serena
going.
Williams.
Don't get me
Serena
going.
Williams. I'm a little scarred from it, but it's all good. But my point that I'm trying to make with this new tax reform, by chance, if 2.5, and I'm not sure about the numbers, but we got plenty of black men locked up. Is this new tax reform going to throw our sisters in the arms of white men? What do you think about that?
What I think, let me say this. What I think might start to look, largely the mythology around black folks with white folks is just all overstated. Like, black men are just choosing all these white women. That black women are choosing all these white men. People marry in race. That's just what it is. And I think that what you might start to see is that we are more apt to be more conscious about our choices, to the point where we might not make choices. That's the irony of it all. And so I think the bigger possibility is that people get stuck in a murk where essentially you see 3 women living together and they splitting rent and raising children together. And I think what you're going to see these weird hybrid multi-generational households. They already exist, but it's going to heighten. I think that happens before we see black women in mass running to white men. I think even when we look in the media, these black women tend to be high wealth, uniquely positioned, sometimes biracial. They're very outlier type situations. The larger dynamic is we're in for a situation where we might have to start really trying to be together again. And if people say, now some people are going to say, well, isn't that a good thing? I don't want to be pushed together though. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the reason I say this though, because even in the media, say for instance, like I said, I'm out here in Western Massachusetts, and there's a lot of interracial dating. There's a lot of interracial marriages.
Pause for a second though, T. When you say a lot, see, that's what confuses us in discussions is we use some, most, and a lot far too often. The thing is, your eyes, your mind, the way it works is like you'll see 10 black couples that are 2 black folk, and then you'll see 1 black man with a white woman, and it'll jump out, or 1 white. And I think that it's not as a lot as we believe. But it's just abnormal, so it jumps out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in this area, because I drive a bus for a living.
Service the poor. And the problem right now is most black folk think that we rich, but we actually poor. Or working poor. And so what ends up...
So, man, as far as with this tax reform bill, man, we must start spending our money wisely. We must stop buying rims, expensive cars, expensive houses we can't afford. We must start making better decisions financially. We must start investing in our own community and starting our own businesses. We cannot afford to wait on the government to do for us. I think black people are going to come out much better. I think the poor is going to come out. We're going to strive through this. We're going to make it. It's going to be hard. However, we can do this. Anyway, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, My Life in the Chi. I'll put a description. This was on Tones Talks page. Make sure y'all share this video, like. Let me know what you think about it. Peace, peace, peace. I'm out.